Okay, let's unpack this. What if our gut instincts about terrorism, what we think a terrorist mind looks like, what if that's fundamentally wrong? Today, we're doing a deep dive into the psychological takes on understanding terrorism, and we're pulling this straight from academic sources. Our mission, really, is to get beyond the headlines, the easy assumptions. We want to uncover some surprising, maybe even unsettling facts about who terrorists really are. And, crucially, why understanding them scientifically is so important for global security.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how much the common perception can miss the mark on complex human behavior. And this field, for a long time, it's really been more about speculation than solid empirical studies. To truly get to the roots, we have to move past that.
Yeah, you instinctively expect maybe one single profile, don't you? Someone deeply disturbed, maybe uneducated, or it's driven by poverty. But digging into these sources, wow, it reveals this real kaleidoscope of motivations, different backgrounds. It challenges almost all of those ideas.
Absolutely. There just isn't a single terrorist mind. It's not monolithic. These individuals, they vary hugely. Temperament, the role they play, their motivations, it's all over the map. And one of the most maybe counterintuitive findings, studies overwhelmingly show they don't typically fit the clinical picture for major mental illness or, say, sociopathy.
Wow, that really flips a common assumption right on its head.
It does. And within their own groups, many are actually seen as heroes. They see themselves as acting in, well, pro-social ways.
Pro-social, how so?
Fighting for their community, their group, their cause. Think about a Basque student joining ETA back in the day, or maybe a Chechen Black Widow. From their viewpoint, inside their group's narrative, they're acting heroically. They're making a sacrifice.
That's a really powerful point. It forces you to step outside that black and white thinking, so it's less about them being inherently evil or mad and more about understanding their frame of reference.
Exactly. It's about their perspective, their in-group dynamics.
Right. Okay. And what about that other big narrative? The idea that poverty is the main driver. That feels like something everyone just accepts, right?
It's definitely a common belief. But again, the data often tells a different story. If you look at data from the late 90s, early 2000s, studies on Palestinian populations, for instance, or even the 9/11 hijackers themselves. I mean, you had a middle-aged urban planner, a wealthy Saudi guy.
Right, not exactly the picture of deprivation.
Precisely. Those studies often found support for terrorism was actually more common among the educated and professionals. One poll back in 2001, it showed higher support among those with secondary education or professional jobs compared to, say, laborers or illiterate respondents. Now, that's not to say economic conditions in places like Gaza aren't incredibly tough. They absolutely are. But that direct, simple line poverty causes terrorism, the research suggests it's often overstated.
Wow. Okay, so if it's not simple pathology, not just deprivation, does that mean it's pure rationality then? Are these just cold, calculated decisions to achieve political goals, like some kind of grim business transaction?
Well, rational choice theory does suggest people make calculated decisions, weighing costs and benefits to reach their goals efficiently. And you can see how terrorism might seem to fit that, calculated moves for political ends. And historically, some campaigns have achieved goals. You mentioned Ergun in the 1940s helping secure Israel's independence, or Hezbollah's campaigns leading to withdrawals from Lebanon. There are examples.
Okay, so there's some rationality there.
But, and this is a big but, that theory can't fully explain why so few people, even those facing the exact same grievances, the same conditions, actually turn to terrorism.
Ah, right. If it were purely rational, wouldn't more people do it?
Exactly. Other factors clearly come into play. Things like a really deep thirst for revenge, or what some call the romance of risk for people seeking novelty or excitement, or just powerful emotional impulses that can frankly override purely rational calculations. We even see hints of this in neurological studies. People will punish others they see as wrongdoers, even if it costs them personally. That's not strictly rational in a simple cost-benefit way. It highlights these powerful emotional drives that can fuel extreme actions.
It really sounds like this field is grappling with way more questions than easy answers. Certainly more complex than the headlines suggest.
That's fair to say. The field faces huge challenges. There's limited empirical research, for one. Practical barriers, too. It's dangerous. There are ethical issues trying to directly study active terrorists. And the big theoretical hurdle is that terrorism just isn't one single type of behavior. It's not unitary.
So we need to stop looking for the terrorist mind.
Precisely. We need to move past these broad generalizations. We need to study specific psychological subtypes. Distinguishing leaders from ideologues, recruiters from the foot soldiers, they might have very different psychologies. And understand that complex interplay between individual predispositions, their environment, and these really powerful group dynamics. Dynamics that can fuse an individual with the group where their personal identity just gets completely wrapped up in the collective cause.
Right. Their sense of self becomes inseparable from the group's goals.
Exactly. And connecting this to the bigger picture, it becomes really clear that effective counterterrorism policies, they have to be evidence-based. They need to be incredibly nuanced, reflecting this whole psychological spectrum, not just reacting to a single, simple, often wrong profile.
That really does shift the perspective, doesn't it? It leads to a provocative thought for you, our listener. How might our understanding, and maybe even our whole approach to global security, how might that change if we really embrace this idea? The idea that there isn't one single terrorist mind out there to defeat, but actually many different kinds of minds to try and comprehend. That's our deep dive for today. We hope you feel a little more informed and maybe, just maybe, a lot more curious.